Now, even that dramatic increase won't completely spare fire services from cuts in some areas of the country, but it will certainly help soften the blow. And the members of the Congress who are here who supported that increase deserve our thanks as well. But another thing we have done this past year, in addition to increasing the funding for those grants, was to change the eligibility rules for what the grant monies can be used to cover. And we changed those rules based in large part on input we received from you. The new grant guidance makes it much easier for local departments to put security dollars to work quickly, to rehire laid-off firefighters, and to retain current forces. We've waived the local match requirement. We've waived the salary cap and the requirement that departments must retain safer-funded firefighters beyond the term of the grant. The new grant guidance gives departments more flexibility by reducing the term of the grant from 4 to 2 years, and it allows fire departments to keep safer funding even during normal attrition. These changes, and I know I just talked a lot about things that to the grant writers and grant applicants make total sense. But let me tell you what it means. What all those changes mean is that fire departments have greater and maximum flexibility in the short term and to enable them to use these federal dollars to keep veteran firefighters who are so important to keeping our communities safe, to keep them in the departments and on the job. And that was our top goal with respect to that. Now, yeah, go ahead. Now, in addition to the SAFER grants, another $390 million in funding was appropriated this fiscal year to other critical grant programs, including the Assistance to Firefighter grants and the Fire Prevention and Safety, or FP&S grants. These programs help our nation's fire services with other non-staffing needs of their organizations, like equipment, like training. They help make sure that we are keeping up with new threats and the new demands for your services. And on top of these grant programs, I'm sure all of you know that the Recovery Act, also known as the stimulus bill, has played an important role in making sure that the infrastructure for our nation's fire services is updated. My department has awarded $189 million to 100 recipients for fire station construction and renovation out of Recovery Act funds. And I'm sure that all of you have seen century-old firehouses that are crumbling, or other firehouses in bad need of updating and repair. This funding is designed to help address that problem while increasing the ability to respond quickly and efficiently throughout the country. By the way, this funding is also creating jobs because these are good construction dollars going right to work in our communities where they are needed most. Now, a third thing we are doing is making sure that fire services are integrated into the overall threat picture for our country. One way, for example, is to make sure that law enforcement and local fire departments, that we are all on the same page in terms of information sharing. Making sure that we are getting information out in a timely fashion about threats that are facing our communities, new tactics that are being used, things to watch out for, things to prepare for, things to test and exercise for. Information sharing is the important and critical part to strengthen emergency services. Now, the main way that we conduct information sharing throughout the country is through fusion centers. These fusion centers are built on the concept that if you locate together federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, law enforcement, first responders, that they will be able better to share information, better able to discuss issues that are ongoing in communities, better able to think ahead about threats that may have materialized in one place that could likely materialize there in a short time period. Fusion centers across the country, there are now 72, include firefighters in most of them. And if you're not in your local fusion center, that's an idea or something that you should take home with you as to whether that is something that fits within your own first response system within your communities. My goal for the fusion centers is to make them the centers of analytic excellence to pass on useful, actionable, real-time information to first responders on the ground. Now, in order to be effective at assessing threats and what they mean for specific communities, fusion centers need access to a broad array of knowledge. This includes the kind of knowledge possessed by those in the fire services, which in many jurisdictions handle hazmat situations, explosive materials, along with more traditional duties. But fusion centers don't just need the expertise of fire services. Fire departments need to be priority customers of the fusion centers as well. Because we have seen attacks now in other countries where terrorists have hidden explosives in response vehicles. We've seen attacks where terrorists have set off one bomb here, so everybody rushes to that one bomb, only then to see another bomb set off somewhere else, or another bomb set off and timed to attack the first responders who arrived at the scene to help. So that type of intelligence needs to be shared with you so that you can incorporate it into your training, your incident management processes, and your situational awareness. At DHS, we've strengthened our support for fusion centers. We've made them a major target for grant funding. We've reoriented the way the department is set up to make sure that every component of DHS is supporting the fusion centers. We've expanded the amount of information available to state and local authorities, and we've ironed out some of the really thorny issues involving the sharing of classified information. And we've also ramped up the number of DHS personnel assigned to fusion centers. In other words, moving them from the Beltway to the country at large to make sure that we have maximum sharing and maximum capacity building where analytics are concerned. Ultimately, the goal is to make sure that you, our local first responders, always have an accurate picture of what is happening in your communities. And also, you also have the benefit of our best analysis and support in terms of the steps that need to be taken in order to counteract the ever-evolving threats that we face.